This video is how to do silicone. First of all, you need to make sure that you've got all of the equipment. You'll need a gun in order to squeeze out the sealant, a good quality sealant, and in this case we're using BAL, and it's a microbiology resistant silicone. You need some sort of cleaner. We're using multi-solve in this particular case, but you could use methylated spirits. It must be a non-oil based cleaner, and that's to clean the surfaces before you start. You then need some profilers, and you choose your profile on how deep and what shape you want the silicone to be. You need a Stanley knife in order to cut the gun on the grout, on the silicone I mean, and then you also need some washing up liquid in a sprayer, probably diluted to a high degree of water, and that's just to actually finish the silicone off. Then plenty of tissue in order to make sure that you don't spread the silicone everywhere. The first thing to do is to clean the surface. So make sure the surface you're actually going to silicone is clean, free from dust, and then you need to clean it and make sure it's not oiling it in any way. So clean it with methylated spirits or multi-solve. Clean all of the surface all the way around where you intend to use the silicone. Step 2 is to choose your profile, and in this particular case we're going to be using this little profiler, and I'm going to use the 10mm profile. That's this one here. Now you want to cut the top of the silicone so that the profile that it will give is larger than the profile you've picked. Okay, so as you can see now, I've cut the end of the tube and I've cut it at about 45 degrees, and that's slightly larger than the profile I intend to use. The idea of the profiler is not to push the silicone in, but to scrape the silicone out. So you use the profiler at this angle, not that angle. So you don't profile it and spread it in, you want to scrape it off. So you scrape the excess off, and you'll see that in a minute. Once you've applied the silicone, we then spray the silicone with the diluted wash. So the next thing to do is to apply the silicone. So apply the silicone as neatly as possible. It's very difficult on these tiles because they're quite rough, they're not a very smooth edge. So now you can see that the silicone's applied. There's a couple of little gaps there, just here, and I'll fill those in a minute. And there's a little lump there, don't worry about that. So I've just gone over those little gaps again. And the next thing to do is to get the spray. Spray the whole surface. Don't worry about how much water you're using. Get it nice and wet. And once it's wet, whatever it sticks to now will just come off. Pulled off. Spray the tool. Use your profiling tool, and you're using it to scrape it off. Make sure the corner's nice and neat, and you're scraping off lumps of it. This is where you need the tissue. So lots of it comes off. There we are. Now once you've scraped it all off, you can spray it again. Just wipe it over carefully with your finger, very lightly, and it just smooths out some of the odd little bumps. Don't wipe it too much, because if you wipe it too much you'll make a mess.